Welcome to Spinning Back Clique, where each week here at MMA Junkie, we take a spin through the biggest stories in MMA. And on today's episode, Tatsuro Taira is back in the win column. PFL, they crowned two new champions in Atlantic City. And the middleweight division will have a new title contender on Saturday, barring a draw, I imagine. Hello, everyone. Gorgeous George here on the con. Look at the distinguished panel we have for you today. Ghost checking in from Las Vegas, my co-host on the MMA Junkie Radio podcast. All the way down in the 305, it's Danny Segura, one of the top reporters in the game. And our overseas correspondent, Farah Hanoun, she checks in from Morocco, another top dog in journalism, MMA journalism. Cold Coffee's on the ones and twos. Please hit the like button to get the party started here. Helps out a lot for all of our shows here on the YouTube channel. Let's get going, guys. Let's talk about UFC Vegas 108. The MMA leader was back in Las Vegas in the main event. Tatsuro Taira defeated Hyun Sung Park via submission, a face crank. Taira's back. Farah, he wants a title shot. What do you think of his performance? And I don't know, are people maybe listening? It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, that was a great performance by him. Did exactly what he had to do, rebounding there. I know he's highly touted, and a lot of people look at him as a future champion. Potentially had that little setback, but he's back in the win column. He was originally supposed to fight Amir Albazi. He gets a replacement in a hot rising contender, but I feel like he did what he was supposed to do if we wanted to keep his name in the title conversation. So great performance. Title shot. Look, I don't have a problem with him calling for it. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try to make some noise because at the end of the day, the way this game works, it's all about timing, right? Whoever's ready to go whenever the champion wants to fight. So you never know. But I just think probably Joshua Van is ahead of him, considering I know MMA math doesn't always make sense, but considering that he has that win over Royval, I think that's the direction you go. As for Taira, I mean, Brandon Moreno is a good option for him. I think that fight is probably the way to go because I don't know how keen the UFC are in giving Moreno another title shot against Pantoja. So, yeah, I don't hate that he called for a title shot. I just don't think he's going to get it. But he did exactly what he needed to do. He looked dominant, great performance, and looking forward to seeing what's next from him.
Danny, these 125-pounders, man, we don't usually think of them of having that kind of ability to crack. The knockouts aren't at a high ratio like the higher weight classes, or that kind of brutal strength, right? To put on a submission like that.
Yeah, he looked great. Talk about how to successfully bounce back from a loss, especially his first professional defeat. Man, he did everything he could possibly do. He dominated in the first round, and then he got a knockdown. Then he submitted the guy. Once you lose, you obviously lose a lot in terms of the aura, your standing in the rankings. But I would say that with this performance, main event, the way that it went down, he really was able to recover a good amount of it, a good amount of what he lost in his last outing. So I'm not saying he should be next for the title shot or anything like that, but it certainly puts him back in the conversation. And yeah, man, he looked amazing. Taira's.
Do you like Farah's suggestion against Moreno? I'm kind of digging that one. What about you? You got another name, or you think that's the one?
I don't hate it, but I don't think that's the only option. I think Manel Kape somewhere in there has to be in that equation, whether it's against Taira or where it's him against Moreno. I actually like Manel Kape versus Moreno a little bit more than Taira fight and have Taira fight somebody else. I don't know how serious is the injury from Amir Albazi. Could that potentially be rebooked? Does anybody have any info on that?
I do not. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Moreno and Manel Kape go at it. I think that's a really fun fight and probably a title eliminator. And I think we need to see Taira in one more fight against the top guy, say Albazi, or trying to think who else would make sense right now in the division that's up there. Maybe take the loser of Van if he loses against Pantoja, right? I don't know. It's a tough one, but I certainly don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, Albazi, I know, had that time off because of a neck issue, but you seem to have sorted out. Hopefully it's not that, and it's a minor setback. We'll see. Maybe we can follow up before this show is over. Goes, you've always said if someone steps in on late notice, smash them, right? Like, don't just beat them, but smash them and show why you're the better fighter. I think Tatsuro Taira pretty much checked every box. Or how impressed were you?
Very impressed. I mean, it was a 10 performance on his end. The situation was not ideal, right? For as much as people say, look, Park's coming into a bad situation, no matter what, when you train for another guy, Tatsuro Taira is kind of in a bad situation as well, right? I think if this were a win over Amir Albazi, we might be saying different things right now. But like as Danny and Farah said, the situation that's going on in that division, whether it's Park, Albazi, I think he still probably would end up having to wait anyway. But given the cards that he was dealt, he went out there. He showed us a couple new wrinkles, right? His striking was pretty good. He used it to set up his takedown, and his grappling was on point. Park maybe didn't put up the best performance, and maybe that does sting Taira just a tad because he ran through him so easily. But Taira is very likable. We've interviewed him quite a few times, and he's got that charisma, and it kind of reminds me of some of the older Japanese fighters that you could tell if they just spoke a little bit more English, you would really, really cling on to them. They're always happy. He's always got good things to say. He's always training. He's definitely somebody that I think the UFC is going to want to promote. And I think this is a good step forward, but I do think he's going to need to get one more before we talk about him in a title fight.
That guy that won a few weeks back, Tagir Ulanbekov, I think he's another guy we should probably look at, depending on some of these injuries or what the UFC decides to do. I think Van and Pantoja is pretty penciled in. I did manage to look at Amir Albazi's post here on Instagram. He says, "I'm heartbroken to announce that I won't be fighting on August 2nd. I finished my whole training camp and did everything I could, but I wasn't medically cleared in time. The UFC and the commission made a call for my safety. I respect the decision, even though I wanted to step into the cage and take care of business." I mean, that doesn't sound like a major setback. So hopefully we now throw him kind of in this mix because he is one of the top dogs, right?
Yeah. Also, let's not forget about Asu Alambayev. He had a good win over who did he fight? This was like a week ago or two in
Ochoa?
over Ochoa. Yeah, that's right.
Ochoa.
Peruvian. Yeah. I think him versus Taira would be a lot of fun, but definitely Moreno and Manuel Copper or over Taira in terms of the line to the title. And I respect very much him calling for a title shot, but dude, you can't be coming off a loss and then beat a guy who took the fight on a week's notice and then be like, I'm next. I just don't think that's how it works.
Well, I agree with Fada though. Just say it, utter it into
existence. Hey, I'm not blaming him for saying it, but
he's got a really nice overall record. He got beat by a former champ, but I think I get it. Sometimes you hear it and you're like, come on, man, take it easy. You just lost your last fight, but so many weird things happen in this sport, and I guess he's just showing interest, maybe.
But honestly, is that the best thing for him? Because when you look at the division, you look at the experience that's at the top. I wouldn't mind hanging around and maybe getting a little bit more experience before I challenge a beast like Pantoja. I don't think hanging around is really that bad of a thing.
I don't think so either. And look, part of why he looked so good on Saturday was because of that loss to Brandon Royval. He told the media leading up to the event on Wednesday that one of his biggest lessons was one, his striking, and two, his strength and conditioning. And honestly, he looked chiseled going into that fight. He looked in the best shape and super explosive, the best shape we've ever seen him. So keep learning, man. I mean, he's got all the time in the world.
There is one knock. This is George will probably agree with this. How has he not watched The Karate Kid? He's from Okinawa.
We talked to him. He's from Okinawa, for crying out loud.
He's never watched it. He promised us he would. Now, to be fair, we did promise to listen to some boy band, right? That I think we just kind of casually forgot to bring up. We got to do our part, but we got to get him to watch Karate Kid.
I struggle goes with the youth. There's a certain person who took forever to watch Hoosiers, and she's a hoopster. I won't mention her name or anything like that. But
I'm still mad about that.
I mean, she would appreciate Jimmy Chitwood. Remember how clutch he was from three-point land goes?
George, let me ask you this, though.
I finally sent her the movie. I think everyone has a good idea of who I'm talking about, but I finally sent her the movie. I messed up. I sent her in French, but a lot of people don't know that she's like a trilingual, so I think she got the gist of it. But I want to resend it in English. Great actors, great. Oh, man. Will you watch it if I send it again?
Farah, if you watched it in French and you liked it in English, I really think you're gonna like it even more. And I know Danny's being quiet over there because he doesn't want to get picked on. I got beefs with Danny too.
No, leave me alone, Ghost. Leave me alone.
All right. Well, congratulations to Tatsuro Taira. You did what you had to do. You look like a beast, man. Seriously, you got a lot better. Couple shout outs here in the chat. MMA Events Vlog, GM from the West Coast. Billy247, he's always in there. He says, morning, Fada and the gents. Steve Williams, hey guys, and Fada. Mark England says, the crank finish was nasty. Sky V's and El Daddy checking in. Good morning, homies. Good morning to you too. We'll keep checking on the chat. Let's keep talking about this card. How about Duncan and Rebecca, guys? Fight of the year, anyone? Danny? Like, is this? I mean, it was kind of sloppy, but it was back and forth, and dude, it was violent.
I feel like, yeah, this fight was amazing. This card, by the way, on paper was probably the weakest card we've ever seen for now in 2025. But man, did it deliver once it came on Fight Night. And this was probably this was the best fight. There was also some other good fights, but this was amazing. I mean, the amount of damage that both these guys took and dished out was unreal. I mean, look at their faces. That is insane. And again, I sound like a broken record, and we've said this a million times, but what a shame that happened in the Apex and not in front of an arena with 15, 18,000 people. You know how much that would have added to the moment, and also how much it would have motivated them to keep on fighting, and how much drama would have added to the fight. But anyway, yeah, it was an amazing fight. I'm still hesitant to say fight of the year. I want to go back and watch the Royval versus Van fight. Obviously, that fight is a lot more high level. It was a little less sloppy. I want to watch that fight again and kind of compare and contrast. But like as of now, those are the two fights that you have to be in consideration for fight of the year.
Fada, what did you think? You have to stay up late for some of these events. Sometimes it's worth it, though. How about this one? What did you think of this one? And should it be a candidate for fight of the year?
Definitely a candidate for fight of the year. It was an amazing fight, a lot of damage done. I mean, Ron Becky, like that's again another incredible fight by him. I don't know how many bonuses he's got, and I believe Duncan, that's 3 in a row where he was an underdog and he emerged victorious. So they had a little bit of that. I don't know if I want to call it heat, but you know, both training at American Top Team, and they took little jabs at each other in terms of like who they've been training with and whatnot. The way the fight started felt like two brothers fighting, like they argued about something and then they were just scrapping it out. But definitely one of the better fights of the year. I might have a little bit of an unpopular opinion in terms of my picks so far. I still like Merab and Umar just because of how high level it was. It wasn't like blood and it wasn't blood and like a slugfest and swinging the pocket and all that stuff, but it was just such a high level fight, and it's a fight that I definitely want to see again, and a fight that I feel like is what kind of helped propel Merab to becoming a fan favorite, especially how people used to perceive him before with his decisions over Aldo and stuff like that. So that's still my perhaps unpopular opinion of fight of the year, but obviously this for sure in the running. And like Danny said, Van and Royval. We've got Bilal Muhammad and Jack Del Madaleno was very good. Sadikov and Mota off the top of my head. So we've had some really good ones so far. But yeah, this one for sure a candidate. Even Ribovic's fight was awesome. Yeah. So we had like 2 back-to-back right
What about Kevin Vallejos?
Like Danny said. What's that?
What about Kevin Vallejos and Danny Silva?
Yeah, I'm telling you, like this, it's like this card was supposed to be on paper, like people complaining about it and the name value perhaps and stuff. But I swear it's always these cards that deliver these bangers. So great matchmaking there.
Because it's been a horror movie this summer, eyeballs falling out, and you know, I mean, back to back weeks. You know, I think if you entered an elevator with these two guys and had a chainsaw, you couldn't do as much damage as they did to each other. It was bad, and I know sometimes you get a little freaked out over some of these cuts in the blood. Did you stomach this thing?
Well, we've seen some pretty nasty things in our day. Even broadcasting, we had a compound fracture happen like right in front of our faces. This one got rough, man. I might be in the minority here, but I think what they did was tremendous. It takes a lot of courage to go out there and do what they did. But part of me, about halfway through, was thinking, man, I hope this stops soon, because they're doing things to each other that they're not going to be the same fighters. And there's no title on the line. There's no giant paycheck at the end. You know, they're not getting the type of money that the guys get higher up on the card. I started to actually kind of feel a little bad But holy crap, like, yeah, they beat the crap out of each other. To me, it was when we talk about fight of the year, it's tough because, like, to me, this was the type of fight where, like, if you were to compare it to football, it would be where the score would be like 62-61. You know, there's just no defense whatsoever, and you enjoy what you saw, but I don't know that it was like a high level like some of what my colleagues are talking about. Some of the other fights had a little bit more of that, so I would probably pump the brakes on fight of the year. It was definitely craziest fight of the year.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It was gory for sure. I had a few people in my group here that just had to turn away. Huh?
This is just funny because like we're so used to it, but like, yeah, if you show somebody that doesn't watch MMA like consistently, they'll be like, what the hell are you watching, you psychopath? Like, you know, that was very rough. Yeah,
like Gladiator 3 or something, man. I mean, seriously, it was getting up there. All right, how about another highlight from this event? Let's go back to goes. Was there anything that happened that you want to shed a spotlight on?
Well, actually, the fight that I thought was pretty crazy was Ribovics and Brenner. I thought it had a lot of the previous fight, but it was a little bit more technical. And at times, Elvis Brenner, when he looked like he was on his way out, he did just enough to kind of make you think he could actually come back and do something. Like, you feel like if maybe there was one more round or maybe a couple more minutes, he was starting to turn the tide a little bit. That fight to me was a little bit more technical and a little bit more fun. So I kind of want to give them their shine.
How about you, Danny?
Man, I'm gonna shout out Kevin Vallejos because he didn't get a bonus, and I know my shout out doesn't come with $50,000, but you know, I spoke to the guy in the lead up to the fight, and he was like, first of all, a lot of people were in disbelief that he didn't get a bonus for his UFC debut, which he got a first round knockout. But and on that card there were 7 finishes. And literally on this interview, he's like, dude, there's no way in hell there's going to be this many finishes again in a card. This time, I'm 100% getting the bonus. He goes out there, has a brutal fight. You're like, all right, fight of the night locked. Next thing you know, Esteban Ribovics and Elvis Brenner say, hold my beer. And then next thing you know, Duncan and Rebecca say, hold my beer. And all of a sudden, he's left without $50,000. So feel terrible for the guy. I think in other circumstances, in other cards, he would have had $100,000 in his pocket for a finish and a fight of the night. But yeah, man, MMA is brutal. So shouts out to Kevin Vallejos. I will give him a honorary bonus that comes with no money. I hope that makes him feel a tad better.
Can I get one of those?
Sure, you want one? Bonus for you, bonus for Farah, bonus for Ghost. Everybody gets a bonus.
Nice.
Fada, how about you? What was your other highlight from the big fights that we've already covered?
Well, shout out Steve Williams' suggestion of Neil Magny. I mean, that guy just won't go away, right? It's crazy because he was on a 2-fight losing streak where he got knocked out in both. And you would think like if he lost this one, like the way people would have pictured this fight is perhaps if he would have lost, maybe he would have gotten finished. Who knows where his UFC career would have gone. And man, he just won't go away. He ends up getting the finish himself. I don't know how much of an underdog. I believe he must have been the underdog, right? I don't know how much of an underdog he was, but just, you know, you rewind back his win over Mike Malott after losing to Ian Machado. Gary, this guy fights anyone. Most wins in UFC welterweight history. He has such an interesting career. So to see, like, you cannot be happy for him. And Neil Magny just won't go away. Like, he's constantly counted out and underestimated throughout his career. And I picked against him. And I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it just won't go away. I mean, how old is Neil Magny right
38.
now? 38, yeah. Man.
So it was his birthday that day, and he got a birthday cake and his black belt in the post-fight interview.
There you go. There you go. Nice. I mean, it's very, very impressive, the longevity he's been able to have. So you cannot be happy for him to see him come out with a performance like that. But I also wanted to shout out Austin Bashi because I'm all for rising prospects. I know a lot of people get irked by certain fighters getting a lot of hype. You always see negativity when someone has a lot of hype, right? We saw Peyton Talbot suffer his first career loss and he bounced back. And a lot of people were counting him out. Granted, different level of competition, of course, than what Bashi got. But regardless, it's always exciting to see a prospect back on track. He had that setback against Christian Rodriguez, who's kind of been a prospect killer. But he did exactly what he was supposed to do and, you know, helped Diego Lopez train for Alexander Volkanovski. A lot of people are high on Austin Bashi and it was good to see him get back on track. I always like to see prospects, but I think they need to like take care with the matchmaking when it comes to him. They don't need to rush it. But yeah, I liked his performance.
Rodriguez also took out Rojas, right? In Miami, I think. He has been a prospect killer, and I think he fights in this coming up weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I've always been a fan
Andre
of that
Fili.
guy.
Yeah, against Andre Fili.
All those guys, it almost looks like a setup. You know, like, hey, we're here for this guy. You come in and just do the job, and C-Rod ain't having that. All right, we fell behind a little bit. Let's get to the next topic here. Great stuff, guys. That's UFC 108 recap. Let's talk about the PFL World Tournament 8. Listen, no one was that excited because other than the 2 title fights, it was more their up and coming talent, not any of the talent that we've seen in previous seasons or any of the talent that they acquired from Bellator. So, you know, PFL, same thing like the UFC. You looked at the card on paper, you weren't too wild. But let me tell you something, man. These title fights were a lot of fun. 2 guys are cashing $1 million checks. They're going home with gold around their waist. Congrats to Thad Jean and Logan Storley. Goes, what was your reaction to Thad Jean and Logan Storley? You know, there's no question on the card. I don't think you have to tell me how you scored it, unless you want to, unless you really had Storley. But your reaction to the fight?
My first reaction is I'm happy we benched Nolan this week because he'd be throwing pies in our face right now, right? But I think, look, the first round, I thought Storley, his goose was cooked. As the fight went on, Storley, he started to make it more interesting, right? And he was having moments here and there. The fight was a lot of fun for me overall. Like I really, really thought it was going to end soon, very quickly. And I thought Storley had no chance, man. And as it started going on, I think he started to make things a little bit more exciting. And even like that last minute of the fight, to me, look, you got to give Storley his props. He's tough. He took a beating from Thad Jean at times. But Thad Jean, you also have to give him props because he started to fade a little bit. You know, as that fight started going into the later rounds, you could tell he was getting tired, but he pulled another gear out of him. And I think that's part of that process of maturing. It's kind of what we were talking about with Tatsuro Taira. Like, you have to kind of go through these types of things to be considered one of these top fighters. And I think he made some big strides in his game, Thad Jean did. So overall, I was happy with that fight.
Fada, what did you think of the welterweight final for this world tournament that the PFL did with Thad Jean and Logan Storley?
That was a lot of fun. That was a great striking performance from Thad Jean, but I actually like that he got a bit pushed and tested by Storley. How tough is Storley? Those shots that he took, the front kick to the face and that knee, like when you watch the replay and see how clean those landed, it's pretty crazy that he was able to eat those shots. So, you know, credit to Storley for surviving that. I think it was in the second round, and for him to come back, and you know, Storley's super experienced. He's fought much higher level competition than Thad Jean, but that's kind of what you want to see a guy go through in a test. I mean, quick finishes and all that stuff is great, but when you're an undefeated rising contender, a potential star, and PFL really need a guy like Thad Jean. So I think it worked out pretty well in that regard, especially that Storley just put up a tough fight when it looked like after round 2, like how is he even gonna survive the rest of this fight? And Thad Jean got taken down. He ended up in mount in the first round. Like, I know it was a reversal, but just showed off a lot of wrinkles to his game. A very exciting fighter. He's huge as well. He looked massive in front of Storley, but but that was a very fun fight. I know I don't mean to, I say this all due respect, I don't mean to criticize Logan Storley, but usually when he's the hammer, it's not the most entertaining fight. I remember being there in London when he beat MVP. When he's getting his way and controlling guys, it's not the most entertaining fight, but Thad Jean brought it out of him. It was a lot of fun, and I thought, you know, he looked amazing. His striking so fluid. He's so fun to watch. So very excited for his future.
Yeah, I think the PFL gained 2 stars that night. Even though Storley lost, I think lots of respect because he wouldn't go away. He really pushed Thad Jean. Of course, Thad Jean undefeated, now a champ. Danny, your thoughts on that fight? And give me a 2-for-1. What is his star potential, Thad Jean, now that the PFL's lost a couple other Bellator guys? Did they just gain one?
Yes and no, kind of. So I think the PFL, you know, we criticize the PFL for a lot of things, and I think rightfully so. But they have some good things going on for them, and one of them is Thad Gene. I think they've done an excellent job in sort of bringing him up and kind of pushing him a little bit. They got behind the right guy because clearly, as seen in that title fight, dude, Logan Storley is no joke. He's a guy with tons of experience, former interim champion over at Bellator, and he was able to beat a guy that, you know, towered him with experience and comes from a very good gym. So Thad Gene is definitely a very skilled fighter and has a lot of potential to become very, very good. He's also good on the mic, very charismatic guy. So I think they're getting behind the right guy. However, I did interview him in the build-up to the fight, and I'll say, like, you know, from the numbers that we do interviewing fighters at MMA Junkie on our YouTube channel, his numbers were very low. And I don't think the public yet knows about him. I think the PFL has a tough job in getting the public to get behind him. Obviously, they have a tough job at promoting anybody that's not obviously in the UFC. But I think they can do it. They did it with Kayla Harrison. We see people are kind of already getting behind Dakota Ditchova. And I think that could be the case for Thad Gene. Superstar, I don't know. But certainly a protagonist in that promotion. And they should be getting behind him. And they should be pushing him for sure.
Yeah. Karate Ted Tunes in the chat says, after Storley survived the first round, I wanted to see him win. And that front kick to the face, that dude's tough. Big shout out to from Facebook, because you can watch on Facebook, excuse me, Yakulong Seabuts. Although I feel like I'm getting set up saying that name. Let's see here. Let's go to the comment. Well, I guess just my take. I think I already said it. Storley, man, tough dude, would not go away. I switched my pick to Storley when I heard him do an interview on Junkie. Can't remember who, but he pointed out he's only lost to like undefeated fighters for the most part. I'm being disrespected. Sorry. Wrestling's my bread and butter. You know, I'm going to get it done. And his striking's improved, and Thad Gene's grappling has improved. Just both guys were just two mixed martial artists that put it all out on the line. I was wrong. I thought Kabulaev and Pinedo should be the main event easy, but after that performance, I see why they went with that one. And let's talk about that performance. Movlid Kabulaev stays undefeated. He defeats Jesus Pinedo across 5 rounds, kind of a rinse and repeat. Pinedo did knock him down one time, but he just could not stop the wrestling goes. Your thoughts here?
Man, I mean, again, another entertaining fight considering how one-sided it was. Pinedo did enough to kind of keep our interest vested in what was going on, right? Even hurting Movlid at one point, you felt like if the fight just gets back up to its feet, he has another shot, And it did happen. And there were times where I was actually surprised that the referee stood them up. But overall, it's a great performance from Movlid. He toughed it out. Pinedo's cardio was there. His striking was there, but the wrestling, it's something where he's going to have to do one of those transformations and really consider maybe going to another camp for a little bit or bringing in some high-level wrestlers. But, you know, I know Kabulaev's wrestling's on a different level, but Pinedo's was lacking quite a bit in this one. I think it cost him.
Danny, on your Spanish channel, Hablemos MMA, you've talked to Ivan Iberico, Jesus Pinedo. They're proud of the fact that they've grown Peruvian MMA, staying in Peru. But what do you think? They're going to have to make some adjustments. It was more than clear. Either maybe the team as a whole travels somewhere to, you know, pick up their wrestling game, or maybe they import wrestlers. But give us your thoughts on the fight, and what do you think is the next step for that gang?
So that camp specializes in what's called luta libre with a V, which is a very unknown and not that well-known martial art, but it's basically like a mixture of wrestling and boxing, but a lot of wrestling. And if we look at that camp, there's been some really good grapplers, specifically talking about the guy that won the Ultimate Fighter season 2. I'm blanking on the name.
Season 2? Season 2?
Yeah, of Latin America.
Latin America.
Okay.
Latin America.
Peruvian. Who was in Bellator for the UFC.
Oh, Barzola,
yes. Enrique Barzola. Very good wrestling base. Very good. Yeah. In fact, he out-wrestled like a lot of these Russian guys. So I think the camp has what it takes to bring up Jesus Pinedo's wrestling up to a point where he can be competitive against these type of fighters. Honestly, I just thought he just had too much nervous energy. I don't know what it was about him, but I think there was a lot of poor decision making there, and throwing some big shots and closing the distance in a reckless manner and leaving himself open for the takedowns. But yeah, I honestly think it's a minor adjustment from Jesus Pinedo, but certainly something he needs to work on. And look, also, like, let's not. I mean, Movlid is 20-0 for a reason. He's been doing this to everyone. Also, he's fighting somebody that's very, very good. It's also like, I'm not comparing him exactly to Khabib, but let's say like Khabib is able to take down, so-and-so, and you go, well, this guy has to work on his wrestling. Does he really? Or is it a thing where Khabib is just that good, right? So I think there's a little bit of that as well.
But I was telling Goes that what really highlighted the wrestling even more was after the Pinedo Kabulaya fight was over, Storley goes in for a takedown, and Thad Gene had a really nice sprawl and brawl. If Pinedo maybe had a little bit more of that rather than get taken down and get beat up, maybe he had more of a chance. Did you enjoy the fight?
Yeah, I mean, it went pretty much the way I thought it would. I think, Movlid getting the takedown less than a minute in kind of set the tone outside of that absurd stand-up from the referee early on. But you could see, like, once he stood them up, they kind of brawled a little bit. Pinedo was trying to perhaps capitalize on the little moments he had on the feet. Like Danny was saying, sometimes you don't want to get too overzealous, but sometimes it's like maybe in the back of his mind, he expected to get taken down again and again and again, which is why he was trying to capitalize when the fight was back on the feet. And you saw Movlid after that first stand-up, like he was swinging. Like I was a little bit reckless. I'm sure his corner wasn't thrilled with that, but for the most part, pretty dominant on his part, was able to get the fight to his world. Listen, he's very good. Like Danny said, there's no real shame in getting taken down. I like that. It says a lot when you can get the finish late, because he was controlling the fight, could have, outside of the knockdown, cruised to a decision, but gets the finish in the 5th round. So can't really say too much about that performance. It's kind of what I've expected, but I was impressed that he was able to finish it.
Far, you're obviously our international reporter. You're very close to the scene of what happens, in the Middle East. But again, a lot of these Russian fighters who come down, can Kabulayev, I don't know, it seems like he still lacks what Khabib and Islam have, just this little charisma about him. So they got the undefeated records, or maybe Islam has the one loss. They have their belts and everything, but can this guy be anything for the PFL going forward?
He can, but you just got to get him out of the tournament format, I think, because the tournament format, you can't really control who you fight, right? It's brackets. You end up fighting whoever emerges to the finals, and sometimes we find surprising names that we perhaps didn't expect. Some people get injured. Certain matchups fall through. I think if they want to do something with him, he is 34, so I don't think he should really go anywhere. He's made good money with the PFL and everything. I think maybe the showcase type of fights, like you said, he doesn't really have the personality to put him on those cards, but he definitely has the record and the performances to back it up. So I think perhaps to try to get him the best possible competition, maybe pull him out of the tournament format and put him in those showcase fights. They could have him fight in Dubai. I'm sure he's going to get a good following there. They've got the card in October. Maybe pull him out of the tournament format and just, give him specific matchups. I know it's hard. A lot of people say if you're not in the UFC, you can't call yourself the best and whatnot. But at least what PFL could do when it comes to these showcase fights and not the tournament format is specifically matchmake him against guys where people may go ahead and be like, you know what, this guy is one of the best in the world. So I think that's probably the move. Get him out of the tournament format. He's done that a couple of times and obviously dominated. So I think maybe that's the move for PFL.
Right on. All right. Let's move on to some other news now that we've recapped the action from the previous weekend. Some of the latest stuff going on goes, look, we sorted out the heavyweight division, right? John Jones retired. Tom Aspinall got promoted from interim to undisputed champ. Tom Aspinall has a title defense set versus Cyril Gane in October. But then the UFC all of a sudden releases, well, I guess his contract ended, so they didn't re-sign Martin Buday. This one kind of like, people talked about it this past week. He's 16-2 overall, 7-1 in the UFC, 3-fight win streak, and he's only 33 years old. I say only because in heavyweight, they kind of have a longer lifespan. And the UFC isn't that deep to be cutting someone with those credentials, especially at heavyweight. Your thoughts?
I mean, there's got to be a reason, right? Because on paper, this makes no sense. Like, you have to look at, are you better off without him? No, hell no. Like, this is kind of what you need. Your division's bare bones right now. No pun intended. But you have to kind of get things moving. And this is a guy that will either buy you time to put other guys over, or maybe develop into something that, yeah, somebody that could fight at the top. But I just don't see how you're better off without him. That doesn't make sense to me.
Danny, how about Alexander Romanov? How about the Spain, who's doing pretty good in karate combat? Just seems like kind of early to pull some of these plugs, unlike some of the other fighters in other weight classes who, you know, they've stuck around a little bit longer and they're fighting poorly. What's going on here? This isn't a deep division.
No, dude, he was like 7-1 and he was in the rankings. Like, you're literally like your own rankings, not even other websites or whatever. Your own official rankings are saying this guy's one of the world's best, one of the best 10 fighters in the world. And yet you're letting him go. What a bizarre thing. I get it. He's like not the most exciting fighter. That also happened to Jairzinho Rosenstruck, who I recently interviewed and spoke about that very same thing about his release. But yeah, I mean, this has kind of turned a little bit into like a popularity contest. Like, how the hell did Rosenstruck get cut after having a positive record, 8 knockouts, headlined 6 events, and he wasn't a 2-fight winning streak before losing to Pavlovich? Yet one of the guys that he beat in that 2-fight winning streak was Tai Tuivasa, who's lost how many? Is it 6 or something like that in a row? 5? And yet he's still around the promotion. And I love Tai Tuivasa. This is not a rant against them to get cut or anything, but look, I get trying to put on exciting fights. I guess I get trying to sign, exciting talent and kind of, curating the product a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is also a sport and you got to tailor towards that. If you're saying Martin Buday is one of the best in the world, one of the best 15 in the world, then keep him. He should stay in the UFC. Absolutely bizarre move. And it's just disappointing. It's disappointing that that this is sort of the direction that we're going to. And one thing that I do got to say, the reaction from the MMA community was surprisingly big for this. And I thought a lot of people weren't going to care. This was just going to be a tweet and get brushed under the rug. No, I think people are kind of pushing back a little bit and telling the UFC like, hey, yeah, sure, he isn't the most exciting, but at the end of the day, you claim to put the best against the best. Well, you should keep him around. He's one of the best.
Fada, he says he left with his head held up high, so he's not burning bridges on his way out. I don't think it's a Mohammed Mokaev situation. We were talking about the flyweights earlier. They could use a Mohammed Mokaev right about now. But what do you think? You think in the end maybe he comes back, maybe they just agree on some numbers, it just takes some time, or do you see his future elsewhere?
I mean, I don't know, but all I know is he's a talking topic now, which probably didn't happen regardless of him being 7-1 in the UFC and the number 12 ranked UFC heavyweight. He was never really a talking topic, and now he is. So at least if it's not the UFC, re-signing with the UFC, at least he's got, a lot to take with him wherever he could go. And he's 33. That's young for a heavyweight. So I think he'll be okay. I don't know how much he was getting paid in the UFC, but I think he'll be okay. I think he can get an offer. He could jump into a PFL tournament. Who knows? I think he'll be okay. It's just, but is it weird that he got cut? Absolutely. It just doesn't make any sense. The Buchecha fight, I was there, was the first fight of the night. Not the most entertaining scrap, but it takes 2 to tango, right? And Buchecha was getting tired, and I did what he needed to do to win. I mean, he's taking on like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend, a guy who's very dangerous. So yeah, I'm not going to put 100% the blame on him for this fight. But let's be real. When this fight was put together, we didn't all scream fight of the year, right? So he did. He did what he had to do. Got the win, and yeah, it's a little absurd to be ranked at number 12 and just not be re-signed. And it took 4 days for that decision to come right away. So what negotiations are people even talking about? Where was the time to negotiate? It seemed like that decision was already set from the UFC. So. But, good for him that people are that outraged. I think it'll do him good in terms of whatever his next move will be. He's a talking topic here. Josh Thompson talked about it on his podcast with Big John about how he found it absurd as well. So at least people are talking, and it's good to see that the MMA community are behind him and that they care. So hope whatever it is, whether with the UFC again or elsewhere, I hope he gets what he deserves.
By the way, I'm curious. That was the first fight of the night, right? What was the crowd like on fight one in Abu Dhabi? I'm just curious.
Louder than you would expect, but they were a little
Mm.
crazy. Anytime someone would take someone down, they're booing. So you would think Abu Dhabi's like
Oh,
jiu-jitsu world, but yeah,
yeah.
like they're a little crazy. Like 3 seconds into a takedown, and they were already booing. So, but outside of that, they were, for a event that has a crowd, it was pretty packed for the first fight of the night. So it was good.
All right. All right, everyone. Take a drink of water. Take a deep breath. Here comes a topic that I know. I mean, he's a big name. I got to bring it up. Conor McGregor's in the testing pool, and he did have a test. So that's something more than we don't without even it's something is what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna stay with you, Fada. Is there anything to get excited about? Now we know that there's a 6-month frame. I think he passed the first test. Otherwise, I don't think we would have even bothered with the announcement. What are your thoughts here, man? Do you think 2026 is the year?
I mean, it's progress, I guess, right? Him passing his first test of the year, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to. I wouldn't say it's one of those things. Him and John Jones. It's like I'm not gonna get excited unless it's like they make the walk. Not even if they get booked. If they make the walk, like we went from Conor being booked against Chandler at UFC 303, withdrew, never heard of a scheduled bout since. John Jones was 100% gonna fight Tom Aspinall. He's retired. Now he's back. It's good for our headlines, but at the end of the day, there's no excitement unless they're actually physically standing in the octagon across their opponent. So for now, it's just a talking topic, writing articles. Every pundit, media member, fighter is going to talk about it, but get too excited about it, probably not until they're standing in the octagon.
Nigoda goes next. I think Danny's getting a migraine. He doesn't like when we regurgitate Jones and McGregor, but they're big names. So goes. Any thoughts on this? He passed his first test. He's in the testing pool. We do the math. He ain't fighting in 2025, but maybe in 2026.
I kind of agree with everything Farah said. I mean, let's keep it real here. All right, let's say he is clean, he's training, all of his legal problems are gone. Is he not still 37 or something like that? Hasn't fought since 2021. Even if we can get him back, what's he gonna look like? And does it matter at this point? If the UFC can't trust John Jones in a main event, how are they gonna trust Conor McGregor? I just don't see any of this happening.
I could almost see both guys getting lit up at the White House card too, if that's what they're angling for. It's not like they're gonna fight jabronis, and they're gonna match them up against top dogs, I imagine. But yeah, 2026 is what it's looking like. Danny, you have anything to say? I know McGregor frustrates you.
I just gotta wonder because he announced it with like some really weird video. Why do most of his selfie videos that he posts start with angling of his crotch and then him readjusting the camera to his face? It's like, you can crop that, right? Like, there's editing, but it seems I don't know, whatever. Look, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm. He lost his appeal in the civil rape case. So, I mean, is his association with the UFC and BKFC even good at this point? Like, that's not something you just sweep under the rug. He didn't get caught for shoplifting or going 80 in a 50-mile-an-hour zone or anything like that. He was convicted in a civil case of sexual assault. Many judges would say it's fair to say he's a rapist. What are your thoughts, Goes?
Well, I don't know any world where that can be good, right? I mean, it's definitely bad. I guess the question is like, does his name still kind of carry, the same weight that it did years ago? I'd have to say that's probably dropped a little bit. If he were to ever make it to a fight night, he's still going to generate money for whether it's BKFC or whether it's the UFC. He'll still do that, but I don't think it has the power that it used to a couple years ago. I think that has definitely hurt a little bit. I think fans have kind of turned on him a little bit, even in his own country. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the greatest thing to be associated with.
And then what do you think, Fada? Should he even fight again? He's got these other aspirations of political, being a president of Ireland, but again, he's got that strike that came forward, that appeal. Him losing it. That's it. Like he's convicted of that.
I mean, unfortunately, it seems like everything kind of gets swept under the rug when it comes to the UFC sometimes. So it depends. I guess it can be selective, but at the end of the day, him competing on a White House card, it's just weird when you think of everything. But can he fight again? Yeah, he can fight again. Like I can give him like 5 different fights for him that would make sense. Nate Diaz, Michael Chandler, guys who are just not there. Like he's not going to fight for anything. It's not going to be UFC title related. You can throw anybody across him and people will care to some degree. But I don't know. It just, the way he portrays it on social media is like everything, obviously he's insisting on his innocence and whatnot. And he just seems like life is going on. And I guess he lives life in a way that he can do what he wants. And at the end of the day, all I'm going to say is that I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up competing next year on the White House card. Like I'm not going to act like I'm entirely surprised, regardless of what's going on.
Danny, listen to this comment from Fresh Melon Juice in the chat. He says, Conor and John are paid poster boys. Dana needs them. And we'll throw in BKFC because he's obviously wants to fight there and he's part owner. And so, but does Dana need him?
Who, Conor?
Yeah.
I mean, not really. That's another thing. Like,
that ship sailed, right? That whole thing with Netflix and ESPN, and he has 2 fights left. I think it's a successful promotion. Do they really need him?
Well, I mean, we're certainly not in a good point in the sport in terms of like stars and all that. But I think a lot of people have always wondered, like, oh, like, Conor has all this baggage and all this stuff, and yes, like he just seems to be, from what we see in all his legal troubles, like a horrible person. But a lot of people kind of look past that and say, well, he's the biggest star, he's the biggest name, so you kind of gotta forgive him because of that, and the health of the sport depends on him and this and that. But as Farah pointed out, he's done a great job at staying in the headlines, but the dude hasn't fought since 2021. You wonder what MMA looks like without Conor McGregor? We've been living it for the past 4 years, almost 5 years. This is what it looks like. We're fine. This show still goes on. We're talking about it. We just had a fight of the year contender. Like, the sport still goes on. You wonder what MMA looks like without McGregor? We're witnessing it right now. So, like, stop worrying about, like, oh, is he, we're going to lose a big star and this and that, and is this bad for MMA and the next TV deal? Bro, he's been out of the game forever. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the question was anymore, but
does the UFC need him?
No. Look, the UFC has been doing fine, and they're going to sign a lucrative deal, and they've been fine without him for the last 4 years.
Yeah. All right. Hey, quick note, folks. Dana White Contender Series starts next Tuesday, and their weigh-ins are obviously same as typical shows, 9 a.m. Pacific, because they're based in Vegas, 12 p.m. Eastern, which is our normal start time. So we're going to do what we've done in previous years, is we're going to move things up during the run of Dana White Contender Series, which is usually 10 weeks, to 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. So that starts next Monday. What was that, Fada? Did I say
11.
Something wrong?
11.
Yeah. 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific. There you go. So yeah, that starts next week. Don't forget, obviously, if you follow us on social media, you'll see all those reminders. And hey, how about this YouTube channel for free? We still got about 15 minutes left. Subscribe, not just like these videos that you see. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. We cover the sport like nobody else does. 5-time winners of the World MMA Awards. That means we're doing things right. You can trust us, and we're always there to cover every event. So that's all we ask from you. We'll take care of the rest. Just like the videos and subscribe to the channel. Let's get back to some face punching. Some stuff's going to occur on September 27th between Carlos Ulberg and Dominic Reyes. They're going to headline UFC Perth. Guys, your thoughts on this booking? Is this a titled eliminator? May I remind you, we have Yuri Prochazka fighting Khalil Roundtree on the same card that Pereira and Magomedov are going to rematch. So, Goes, what do you think? Can these guys run some interference? They're kind of a little bit on a roll themselves, Reyes and Oldberg.
I think it all just depends on who's at the top, right? That will probably play a big role in it. I like the fight itself. I love this version of Reyes. He's reinvented himself, not just physically but mentally. The things that he talks about, the things he says. I think it's going to be a hell of a banger. It's a great fight.
What do you think, Fada? I mean, they're the headliners. They're not on the same card as when the champion's defending, and that usually carries a little bit of weight. But Yuri's had, a run as champ, and he's had a couple times to try and get back there. And then, of course, Khalil Roundtree, he bounced back nicely after getting put down by the champ by beating Jamal Hill.
Yeah, I think it's what Go said. It depends on the outcome of Ankalaev and Pereira, because obviously Prochazka's had a shot against Pereira, but he has been chirping with Magomed Ankalaev. And when Yuri Prochazka wins, he wins in spectacular fashion. He's a guy that you kind of always want to see, because with his dangerous, unorthodox style that he could probably put out anybody. So you always want to see him in there, and you almost feel like the way Magomed Ankalaev has been looking and fighting, if he gets past Alex Pereira, it maybe needs a wild, crazy style like Yuri Prochazka to take him out, because he's looking so good. Like, Ankalaev is so skilled and so well-rounded. So I think it is going to depend. I think if Yuri I think the winner of Yuri and Khalil probably gets the title shot if Ankalaev wins. But if Alex Pereira wins, I think the winner of Oldberg and Reyes. And how about Dominic Reyes' comeback story? Imagine if he gets past Carlos Oldberg and all of a sudden we're talking about him in a title fight. That you can't, it's pretty crazy. I heard him talking to Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo on the podcast, and just him reflecting on everything was pretty crazy. He talked about making some changes that he probably shouldn't have made after he lost to John Jones. Changing his team and whatnot. And I know he went out and trained with Alex Pereira and stuff, but it's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He had an amazing performance against John Jones, but man, he went from that all the way down, getting finished and stopped and health issues. And yeah, he can be part of an incredible comeback story. So definitely an exciting time at 205.
What's your early lean? Does he beat Oldberg?
I think so. I picked against him in the last fight. I can't remember who he fought, but I think I picked against him. But yeah, I think I like him in this fight.
How about you, Danny? I don't know if I got your thoughts on this fight booking, but share that real quick and then tell me your early lean.
Yeah, I love this fight. I think it's a solid main event for that UFC Perth card. I do agree that Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka probably has dibs on a title eliminator, but you never know. I mean, that fight can't be boring, right? But we also said the same thing about Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou, right? And look how that turned out. So
let me say something real quick, Danny. Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, but only in the Roundtree side of things. I'm Prochazka out a little bit. Not that he hasn't at least turned things around a little bit, but I like it when divisions can breathe.
Well, he did get a win over Jamal Hill, and I think he's taken some time off. So, and then if he gets a win here, I think 2 victories, him being a former champ, I think that kind of, it stretches things out a little bit. Give it some time. Wait till that fight happens at UFC, 320, and then we'll see how we feel about it. But I understand where you're coming from. But second dibs, I do feel like if something goes wrong in that fight, whether they both get too beat up or there's an injury, God forbid, and that fight gets canceled, I think the winner of Oldberg versus Dominic Reyes is a solid plan B for the next in line for the belt. So yeah, I like the fight. I've been picking against Dominic Reyes for a while now because I just feel like that chin is no longer there. But, chins don't really magically recover. But yet every time he goes out there and fights, he keeps knocking people out. And I get, I keep worsening my staff picks record. So I kind of feel like I have to go with Dominic Reyes now, but my luck, I bet I go with Dominic Reyes and then Oldberg gets a knockout. So who the hell knows? I'll see what I do once the email comes around to submit the staff picks. But yeah, I'll stand on the fence in that one.
That's why I got two chins. In case one goes out, I got the other one. Who's leading the stat picks, by the way? Is it still Fada or Mike Bond, or who's at the
No,
top?
I've been dethroned.
Yeah.
I'll blame it.
Who's,
I'll blame it. I'll blame it on a lot of traveling I've been doing, so I haven't been focused.
who's at the top? Mike Bond?
Is it maybe him or Nolan? I think I can't remember,
Okay.
but it's not me anymore.
Who's your early lean, man? I'm telling you, Ulberg better fight Reyes a lot better than he fought Blachowicz, because you can't just win. You got to impress.
With these guys, I've been picking against Reyes quite a bit, and I think I'm going to flip-flop and start believing.
Okay. Any other news you guys want to discuss before we bow out of here? Goes, let's go back to you.
Look, I think WWE kind of did it again. They maximized their product. SummerSlam is now a 2-day event. Again, the look of the stadium, how packed it is, celebrities galore, Brock Lesnar's back. They just they hit another home run, and I just wish the UFC would bend a little bit, whether it's doing a stadium show or just putting in a ramp for one show per year, something. I think they could learn from what WWE is doing.
And they're partners now. They can exchange this info, right? Yeah, dude, I'm so with you on that one. And I know it's one of their tentpole. It's one of their big events, like WrestleMania, right? So this is a big deal. All right. How about you, Danny? Anything else pop during the week that we haven't discussed?
Yeah. Now, this is not the biggest news, but I do think it highlights something bigger. Noche UFC lost, in my opinion, what it was the second best bout on the card, which was a flyweight bout between Edgar Chairez and Alessandro Costa. Now, I believe they found a replacement. There's reports out there that Alessandro Costa is now fighting Alden Coria, who's Mexican. But yeah, Chairez suffered an injury, and he's out of the card. So I know that's not the biggest news, but I do want to point out something bigger, which I think is what the hell happened to Noche UFC? Because like, Dana and the UFC made Mexican independence like such a big deal, and how much they want to honor, Mexican culture, and how big of an event, how important this is for them. And it seems it was going to be a standout event every year, and so far it has been. Now we've only gotten 2 installments. This would be the third one. And this was supposed to be a pay-per-view. This was supposed to be in Guadalajara. This was supposed to be something big. So yeah, I get maybe not having a title fight with a Mexican like Jair Rodriguez versus Volk because you need a headliner, or Brando Moreno and Pantoja. Okay, I get that. It's now a fight night. But what were the plans for the undercard? Because so far, I believe there's only 3 Mexicans on this Noche UFC card, and it's very, very weak. And then you got 2 Brazilians headlining it, and there's not a shot at Diego Lopez. Like, I have all the respect for him, and Mexicans truly do feel identified with him, and he represents Mexico, but he is originally from Brazil. What happened to Alexa Grasso? What happened to Irene? What happened to Kelvin, Tracy, Lazy Boy? What happened to there's so many names that we can throw out there. Brando Moreno, like, what happened to all these names that have represented Mexico for so many years in the UFC, and now all of a sudden they're not on this card? And I think you only have 3 Mexicans on this card. You have Rafa Garcia, Jesus Aguilar, the new guy who's fighting Alessandro Costa, and Montserrat Rendon. You got 4 out of 20 fighters that are already booked for that card. What the hell happened? So I don't know. I hope that I don't know. Just a little.
Last year was a love letter to the Mexican
What happened to
community.
Raul Rosas, Kelvin?
Well, like Lupe Godinez, we asked her, right? Because we interviewed her, Goes and I, on MMA Junkie Radio, and she said that, she would have done it, but her sister wouldn't have been able to corner her, so she's happy to be in Chicago. She didn't have too much of a problem with it. Daniel Zellhuber fought Michael Johnson a few weeks ago, but that didn't need to happen in New Orleans when they could have waited a week,
right?
Or I guess 2 months, maybe an extra month, because he's been out now and fight on the next Noche UFC. I don't know if that was by his choice or not, but that would have been another name. I think that would have been nice.
Yeah, so like they I hope that it was not just a fad and they actually continue to push Mexican talent, because right now, you got a bunch of Cedric Dumas and Zach Rees. Like, what the hell is that fight doing there? I love Jose Medina, tough guy, but he's Bolivian. Claudio Puelles, Joaquin Silva, great fight. Claudio Puelles is Peruvian though, so this doesn't feel very, very Mexican, to be honest, but yet we're kind of still going with that theme. So
You got another news nugget for us, Fada, from this past week?
I mean, apparently from rumors swirling, the return of the GOAT, Artem Lobov. Is he fighting Zubaira Tukhov? Yeah, that apparently, I know
Is that true?
rumors
Where?
that, yeah, that's
Bare
reports. We no PFL.
Oh, okay.
The October Dubai card, which Habib said is going to be headlined by Usman and Paul Hughes. I mean, Javier Mendez confirmed to me that Usman was headlining, but didn't mention the opponent. Seems like it's a Paul Hughes rematch. So yeah, that's a fun little card for PFL. But man, how random! Like, where did this come from? Very intrigued to see how this fight came about. If it is true, I mean, Artem Lobov hasn't competed in MMA since 2018, I believe. I know he did the bare
Really?
knuckle thing after. Yeah,
That's
and
how long it's been
MMA is
since he fought. What was the kid?
Michael
Hick
Johnson,
Diaz.
I
What was his
think.
name?
Knight.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I
Jason
know that's
Knight.
BK. Yeah,
No,
that
it's
was
BKFC.
that was
MMA.
BK.
MMA. Gotcha.
Yeah. BKFC. I think since 2021 he hasn't competed. So yeah, I mean, pretty crazy. Even Zubaira hasn't competed in a while, since 2023 in the UFC when he was released. So, but you know that's going to be fun build up. But Artem Lobov, it's just not the Artem Lobov. He doesn't have that connection with Conor anymore. He's had that rift with him. So yeah, it's just weird to see that name emerge again. Like, we used to hear about him all the time, and yeah, it's just what a random piece of news. Yeah.
How about that Habib? He's supposed to be the eagle. He's kind of this little birdie. He's telling, you found out about that Usman Hughes fight. And then didn't the other day, I think he said that in New York is where Islam is going to fight JDM. So
Yeah.
he likes to spread the news around a little bit. I just want to say this real quick because I know we're over. I don't know if it happened in the past week, but people still reacting to it. Renato Moicano, go get your money. Stop putting the apple on Dana White's desk. All right, yeah, that ain't gonna get you anywhere. Just look at the history of the game, young fighters, and see where many have retired very happily, but a lot of them, realize that they left a piece of their body, their well-beings, their futures, in the octagon, and maybe weren't compensated as best as they could have. Anderson Silva didn't even go to his own Hall of Fame, for crying out loud. You're not going to score any points by doing this. This is your money, all right? And don't do it for yourself then, do it for your kids. But I was really disappointed with his decision not to go and get that money that comes to them from that lawsuit that was settled. But anyways, we got to get out of here. Guys, you did outstanding as always. I love this group. Don't tell the others I said this is my favorite group though. And also next week we'll be back. Don't forget, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. This is about a 10-week run because of Dana White Contender Series. So you'll get us, and then you'll get the weigh-ins back-to-back starting next Monday. Go out and be a champion. We'll talk to you soon.